Sound good? Good speak. Good afternoon. Gosh, how'd you know I was getting ready to start talking? Everybody's, it's like, thank goodness she's ready to start so we can get on with our day. So, thank you, first of all, for finding time to be here with us. This is part of the Ball Toyota space. And if you don't know, and I hope Sean doesn't get mad at me for telling it, but Sean lets many of us as nonprofits in the community use this space from time to time. And because we're nonprofits, he doesn't charge us. And his team, Bud and the others, take super good care of us. But it's really been a huge help to our United Way. I know Melody Cochran and the Secret Santa folks and other Christmas distributions happen here. And so we really appreciate, Sean, the use of your facility for all of our efforts, but especially today. It's a great day and a great way to see you all here. My name is Margaret O'Neill. I'm the United Way of Central West Virginia president. I have nothing to do with this other than Sean lets me kindly facilitate for you all today. Sean and I have been knowing each other, doing business together for a long time, and had a chance to know him when I was in Beckley, and so he's allowed us to continue this. His brother David, his wife Cindy, his daughter Lakin is here. Is that all your family that's here today so far? He has a beautiful wife, Angela, another daughter, Adele, and Jonah, who are at Charleston Catholic and probably in school today. So it's my pleasure to just help get through the facilitation of our day, and hopefully you'll come away with some great knowledge about our school system, our schools, some of the struggles that our children face, and how the Ball Toyota family of dealerships, Sean and David and their families, have really found a way to make a huge difference in how we care for our kids. I just want to also welcome the folks from Marshall that are here. Jenny Painter's here from Marshall University, and she and her team helped us so much yesterday in Huntington, and it was a beautiful day, and I don't think I thanked her enough yesterday, so I was really glad to see her today so I could thank her one more time. So it's going to be a great day. You have a great panel. My job is partly to also remind us why we're here. I do not want to neglect to mention that First Lady Kathleen Justice was with us yesterday and had full intentions of getting here today, and just had an issue that she needed to deal with. And so her friend and help is Vicki is here. And if you have questions for Vicki or questions you want to direct to Mrs. Justice, Vicki would be happy to talk to you when it's over. Mrs. Justice really had communities in schools, and we're going to talk a little bit about communities in schools today, but had that as part of her work and part of her mission since they've been elected. And so we're anxious for you to hear more about communities and schools as well. And so the reminder about why we're here, Sean and I have known for a long time. I came from United Way of Southern West Virginia, and so for years we've seen the struggles that children have. We know we're talking to the choir here. You guys see it every day, probably far greater than we do. We just happen to be on the other end of the phone sometimes when you call and say, I need a bed, or I need something to fill a gap for a family, for reunification, or maybe to keep kids safe at home. Sometimes you call Carry the Shoe Fairy and part of our Equal Footing Shoe Fund to ask for shoes for your students, and we encourage you to do that. We love it when you do that, and it's our great pleasure to serve you and your kids. Often when people call about shoes, we know in that conversation it leads to, oh, they're also hungry, or I found out yesterday their water's been turned off. And so sometimes that conversation can bloom into ways that we can support that family more than just a pair of shoes. So if you call us, don't hesitate to share what you know about that student and that family if there's a way that we can help at the United Way. Today's donation here in Charleston and then later today in Beckley, along with what happened yesterday in Huntington, amounts to a little over $500,000, a little over $500,000 from the Ball family. Yeah. I said yesterday it makes me cry and sick at my stomach at the same time because I don't know what it would feel like to give away $500,000. And it's just awesome that you all do that for West Virginia. And why do we need to do that? So there are about 200, Melanie gave me all this, 248 schools that are going to be receiving donations yesterday and today, including Marshall University and WVU Tech. 3 United Ways receiving donations, so the United Way of River Cities in Huntington, our United Way of Central West Virginia today, and then this afternoon again, the United Way of Southern West Virginia. And all those together make up that huge amount of money that will be staying here, working here, and providing resources to you and your kids. And our kids do need resources. So we know that about 48% of the families in West Virginia are either just above or below the federal poverty line. That's almost half. of our families struggle to make ends meet, especially the last week of the month. We know that our working families are challenged when they're trying to figure out sometimes how to eat or pay a bill. And this money, this help and support, and the work that the communities and schools, site supervisors or site coordinators do really makes a huge difference in those families. We know that 211 calls lead to hungry kids. Many times on the other end of the phone is, can you bring food or deliver food? I was sharing with our friends from Logan County Sheriff's Office, right? That Carrie Cooper drove over the same railroad tracks about 10 times during COVID trying to deliver food to somebody in Logan. She might have been a little lost. Just as a quick plug, West Virginia 211 is your information and referral number. So if you need additional resources, and maybe it's not in your school life, maybe it's in your home life or your church life or your neighbor, and they need help, they need assistance, they don't know where to call, and you might not either, please refer them to 211. It's zip code driven. You get a real person 24/7, 365. We track that data, both met and unmet needs, and it really allows all of us to do work around the biggest areas of need. We know already in Kanawha County, I see Dr. Williams back there, and appreciate you all being here, but just in Kanawha County, we talk often with the counselors that work directly with McKinney-Vento and the homeless kids here in Kanawha County, and we know that they've already identified a number of children who are experiencing homelessness by that standard, so either on somebody's couch. Our calls often are living in a car. I don't know about you, but we don't consider that safe for kids, and so we go about very quickly trying to figure out how we can work on housing for those families. We know that we still have nearly 7,000 children in foster care in West Virginia. And so all those things together lead to some of the challenges that you guys see in your schools, right? Kids with no shoes, dirty kids, hungry kids, et cetera, et cetera. And so today's event is to bring all that together in a really positive way that makes such an impact in our schools and in our state. And so my great privilege is just to introduce this stellar panel. I did also want to recognize Brian Abraham is in the room from the governor's office, and I told him he had to sit up front, but I don't think he did. Almost. But thank you for being here, and our representation from the governor's office means so much to us. And if there's any other elected officials here that we missed, certainly appreciate your time, and thank you for being here today. So we're going to start with Sean, and Sean's brother David is right here, and Sean just talks for you, right? That sometimes. And so he's trying to hand you the microphone. David's like, no, thank you. So for me, I heard about some of the passion that Sean and David and their families have for children at times when, and I was really hoping Jonah was going to be here because I was really going to embarrass him. But one time we needed some beds. This was in Beckley, and we'd had a call, and there was a family, and they had 3 children, I believe, and they had no beds. Kids were sleeping on the floor, and it was cold. It was in the winter months, and I did what I often do and called Sean and said, what you doing? And I think I needed a truck is what started it. I don't have any way to get him there, and it ended up I think he paid for the beds, but I got there behind him, and so as I was walking up the sidewalk of this little house that was clearly a struggling little family, and I see this little boy coming out, and it was cold, and he's got on sliders, like sports sliders, and I was like, is that one of the kids in the house? And Sean goes, that's my son Jonah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Note to self, slides are okay even when it's cold. So I learned a long time ago about Sean's heart and his passion, and sometimes he likes us to think he's gruff, but I can tell you that more than one time I have seen him care for and do for kids what their own families don't do. And so Sean, in your own words, tell us about your why and why you started this work around virtual pantries and communities in schools.
Thank you. Jennifer Piercy's here also from
Jennifer Piercy's
Senator
here.
Capito's office. I just want to recognize her.
Yes, thank you.
This is on, right? Okay. So I'm going to feel like I'm repeating myself because we went over this yesterday. So if you were at the giveaway yesterday, I don't mean to make you listen twice, but we started doing giveaways to schools about 15 years ago. And while we were doing these in Beckley, just a small amount, I think we started with 13 schools. I just got to the point where I was sick of taking a check and dropping it into the kettle on Christmas Eve because I really didn't know what happened. Nothing wrong with giving money to the kettle. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just I didn't feel like we were accomplishing anything. Where does this money go? I mean, I just gave $20,000 in a kettle to someone that didn't even know who dropped it in it. And it wasn't a matter of getting recognition for this. I don't want people to think that I'm doing this because we're going to sell more cars, or we didn't have to hit an objective to give this much money. The $500,000 came because that's what we felt like we needed to give. And it seems to be a really good way to pass out money to impact kids directly. So going back 15 years ago, I would have to call, and I did this up till a few years ago, actually. I would, until Michelle Black came in my life, thank goodness. I would call each school, and I was hung up on, never returned calls. I had to call one principal probably 8 times, and he wouldn't call me back. And I'm like, I'm just trying to give you money. And back then, I didn't normally tell anybody how much it was. So it was $1,000, and he wouldn't call me back. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm not going to say who it is, but it taught me a lesson, the skepticism of the world today. And I would tell them all, I would start my conversation, listen, there's no catch here. I'm just giving away free money. You don't have to sell pop or popcorn or anything like that. I'm just giving you money. And so we had 13 out of 13 the first year show up for their checks. And the next year I did it, I raised it up to 18. And I think we had 15 show up or whatever the number was. And then I moved it up to 19 or 20. And then I think 8 was the last year I did it. 8 showed up. And I was like, it literally became the true definition of expectation versus appreciation. And my requirement for you to come here is not so that I can get my picture taken with you. I don't care if you even recognize me. But you do need to listen to what I say, because we've been doing this for so long, and we know what this money should go for and how it should be accounted for. And that's what we're after. So my why is to make sure that if a kid needs something, the virtual pantry will provide it. If they need a pair of shoes, I don't want you to go and buy 400 pairs of shoes and put them in a closet. I want you to have that child be able to contact someone at the school that's responsible for discrete products that they need. I need a pair of shoes for a 10-year-old boy or a 12-year-old boy or whatever the case may be. Then I need you to be able to go buy those shoes. That's the whole virtual pantry. Yeah, you need to keep some stuff on hand. I mean, we probably need to do toiletries and things that are feminine products or things like that that you need on the spot basis. But I don't want to take a chance on buying $1,000 worth of items, put them in a closet, and then they just start walking out. And that's what we've seen over the years. So this is years and years of watching and paying attention to come to this one way to do it. And it's my way and it's my money, so I guess we can probably do it my way until and I know that sounds horrible, but I get criticized a lot. I love ideas. Margaret Ann can tell you. She sends me stuff nonstop. This goes on all year for me. I really pay attention. I pay attention to the communities and the needs. And we just kind of have conversations about how can we fix this problem. That's what it's all about. So I hope that sums up my why as long as I can possibly talk. But anyway, if that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. And how about a round of applause for $500,000? So I get to talk to President Smith 2 days in a row, and I just have to say I'm still a little starstruck, and he knows it. Can't help it. So thank you again for being here, and thank you again for your hospitality yesterday. I know that as we've talked, one of the things it's in your why and that we've talked about before is level the playing field for West Virginians and Appalachian folks by investing in them through education. And President Smith talks, and I'm sure will, about how education affected him as the great equalizer when he was young. We were talking about Wayne County yesterday. So tell us a little more about how you think this initiative works for schools. I think please feel free to mention Marshall for All, as I've already mentioned it again this morning. But these folks need to be aware about that.
Well, thank you, Margaret Ann. It's great to see everybody. And Sean, I want to say to you and David and your family what I shared yesterday. There's an old proverb that a society grows great when the current generation plants trees under whose shade they will never sit, but the future generations will. And their example inspires me and all of us. And I would like to ask you to give another round of applause to the Ball family, because it's amazing, absolutely amazing. And the answer to the question of my why is simple. It's you. It's West Virginia. It's the house that built me, just like it's the house that built many of us. And anything that I ever achieved in life was because somebody saw something in me I didn't see in myself, and they invested in me. And I think this amazing program that the Ball family has put in place through your schools to ensure that our children have the necessities and the food they need to be able to come and be able to learn is an critical part of this system. And then the next opportunity is for us to make sure we help them continue to learn and grow and fall in love with their passions, and then get the skills and the capabilities they need to continue to further that career aspiration that they have. And so we've rolled out a program called Marshall for All, Marshall Forever. Very simply, it's designed to eliminate the single biggest barrier preventing kids from continuing their education, which is affordability. So we have an aspiration that in 10 years, every student that comes to Marshall University will graduate with the job of their choice, and they will have zero student loan debt. And we've already begun. Yes. We admitted the first 100 students this year, and we're super excited about the program. We're continuing to scale it. But I'll tell you why this is important. Because education does transform problems into possibilities and dreams into realities, and I know it because I lived it. 54% of our students at Marshall are first in their family this year to go to college. 1/4 of them come from families below the poverty line, and yet when you look at our alumni, they include admirals and generals and governors and senators and Fortune 500 CEOs and Pulitzer Prize Award winners, and the list goes on. Anything and everything you ever want to be, you can achieve here in West Virginia in any of our amazing institutions. And I'll say why this is important. Because West Virginians are a special group. God made us out of grit. He made us out of grace. We're dreamers and we're doers. We celebrate inspiration and ideas and perspiration and hard work. And we've always answered the call. Our families mined the coal. We forged the steel. We built the roads. We manufactured the automobiles. We fought the wars. And then for a period of time, people wanted to tell us that maybe we didn't belong anymore. But we have a blueprint in the state called West Virginia Forward, and all of our institutions are working to support it. And we've put in the ground 6 areas that we as West Virginians have demonstrated that we have an ability to do it better than anybody else. And I'll give you 2 examples. Cybersecurity and aviation. Cybersecurity now, how many of you have heard about ChatGPT or artificial intelligence, or maybe you've heard photomath if you're a school teacher, or any of these things? These are the new technologies, and with them come the bad actors on the other side trying to hack in and steal identities. And so guess where we are? As a state, and in this case as Marshall University, 9 of the last 11 years, our graduates at Marshall have scored #1 in the nation in forensic science. We were the national champs in cybersecurity in 2020. This year, our students came home. They were 14th out of 450, and they were sad. And I said, well, who'd you compete against? Well, they competed against the FBI and the CIA. I'm like, our students are competing against the agencies. They're 14th out of 450. And guess what? The national coach for the United States cybersecurity team is a professor at Marshall. All of that caught the attention of our federal government, the Department of Defense, and the state. And they've now invested to build the East Coast hub to protect the United States. The Cybersecurity Center will be in Huntington, West Virginia. The West Coast hub is in San Antonio, Texas. That's who West Virginia is. Those kids that came out of the hollers and out of the counties and the things that we all know every day, we're trying to nurture this inspiration in these young men and women and children. The other example very quickly is we've been taking a tour all over the country. We're visiting these places like Silicon Valley, New York, D.C., Charlotte, most recently Seattle. We're telling the West Virginia story. And we're talking about these 6 signature areas, and one's aviation. And a gentleman in the aviation industry came over and said, with all due respect, Mr. Smith, what does West Virginia have to do with aviation? And I said, funny that you may ask. Do you realize the Wright brothers built their first plane out of West Virginia spruce? That the Tuskegee Airmen were trained in West Virginia? That when we had Chuck Yeager, a son of West Virginia, he broke the sound barrier? And then we wanted to put a man on the moon, and we produced Homer Hickam and the Boys in October Sky, who built the first NASA rockets. And then we need to get the astronaut home. We produced Katherine Johnson and the Hidden Figures that got him home. And do you realize that all the metal in space right now is manufactured in a place called Constellium in West Virginia? So you're welcome. Thank God for West Virginia. God bless you. That's all I've got to say about that, as Forrest Gump would say.
Thank you, and also very true. Kim Riddle, thank you. We forgot to put the water out.
I'll get some more.
And so, Dr. Stewart, thank you so much. I caught him when he's got his mouth full of water, but I'm going to talk for a minute, so you enjoy your water. Thank you for being here with us today. We're going to be traveling up to your campus, and I'm a big fan of WVU Tech. I was in Beckley when you guys saved the day, if you will, and came to town, so we'll forever be grateful. But I know similar backgrounds, which is really interesting, as President Smith, came from Wayne County, and I believe you came from McDowell County, and, that I've heard, we've read that you stated something like your humble beginnings in the coal fields of McDowell County taught you a lot, and the transformative impact of education. So can you share a little with us about how you see this Ball Toyota initiative impacting education in those schools?
Well, certainly. Thank you so much, Margaret Ann, and good morning to everyone. Again, to Sean and David Ball and the entire Ball family. We here at the WVU system, on behalf of President Gee and myself, we say thank you. We thank you for what you have done. We appreciate what you are doing, and we look forward to the continued contributions of the Ball family. My humble beginnings, as Brad mentioned, being from Canova, I hail from the free state of McDowell County. And when you talk about building this state, this country, this nation, and this world, you can see a lot of that emanated from the metallurgical coal that was mined in the coal fields of southern West by God, Virginia. And when you think about what we were and you think about what we are, you realize there's a lot of work to do. And one of the things is I always find my inspiration, and it was written better in Luke in 12:48 than I could ever say it, and that's simply, to whom much is given, much is expected. And so when you look today at the Ball family, and you've been blessed with Ball Toyota and L&S Toyota and another dealership, the notion of giving $500,000 to the state of West Virginia, to K-12, to higher education, that simply deserves another round of applause. And Sean and David, I believe that because I know, as you talk about, Margaret Ann, those humble beginnings, much less like Brad, coming from the free state of McDowell County, having a mother that dropped out of high school in the 9th grade, watching her immediately transition and try to hitchhike and thumb to get to class at Bluefield State. She had to stop out, and when she stopped out, she had me at 19 as a single mother. And then when she stopped back in, I saw my mother, who was raising me on $300 a month in welfare. I saw my mother, I saw the journey that she took. And I always say it's kind of neat. I never knew I grew up poor until about 10 years ago. And the challenge is, the reason I never knew I grew up poor is because of what Brad said. It's that grit, it's that resiliency. Those are the things that are the cornerstone of West Virginians. And because of that, and you put on top of that, that cement is that education. Being educated in McDowell County Public Schools, I always had teachers, I always had coaches that believed that I could be more, so I had to do more. And one of the things that I always remark, and what this donation allows people to do, is meet young people where they are and help them go to places they never dreamed of going. And when I think about that in conjunction with the transformative nature of higher education, because that mother that dropped out of high school in the 9th grade, that mother that would hitchhike 32 miles in one direction to get to class at Bluefield State and hitchhike 32 miles back to be able to pick her only child up from school in time for him to get off the bus. I watched that journey. I watched that journey at associate's degree at Bluefield State. And then my mother said, God has been so good to me. I'm going to go 2 more years and get that bachelor's degree. And then our friends over at Marshall, the College of Graduate Studies, she got her master's degree there. And unfortunately, she went on to get her PhD down at Virginia Tech. I say that all to say this: without education, without the grit and the resiliency, the humble beginnings, it's hard for us to go through and achieve. And one of the biggest things is we must be laser focused on ensuring that people can see what they can be. When you think about the Marshall connection, you think about the WVU connection, you think about the WVU Tech connection, we are living examples of how transformative higher education can be. And as Brad said, he talked about some of the ways that we've done that in West Virginia. And, you know, we no longer have to hide our beautiful minds because we have John Nash right down in Mercer County. Brad talked about Katherine Johnson. We are no longer hidden figures here in West by God, Virginia, because we all know, and Homer Hickam, the guy from the Free State of McDowell County, reminds us that we can reach those October skies. And so with that, we must continue to work with the Ball Foundation. We must continue to work with each other to give the young men and women here in this state, those that have humble beginnings like myself and so many other people throughout this state, we have to give them the opportunity to be what they never dreamed. And so this donation allows us to meet people where they are and help them go to places they never dreamed of going. Thank you for having us on that journey, Sean.
I don't know about you guys, but how lucky are we to have two such excellent representations of our state in higher education? And to all of us, a reminder to myself as I just kept thinking it when you were talking, all three of you, is that we just can't ever count anybody out, right? You can't look at our kids and count them out because they're from McDowell or from Wayne or from Boone County. You got to look at those kids and say, oh my gosh, they could grow up to be any of them or any of you. And so thank you for sharing your heart with us, and congratulations to your mother. What a wonderful, wonderful story. If we could give that grit and grace to everybody, right? And now you get to hear from one of my very favorite people in the whole world. And Sean's right. When we were trying to figure out how to get people in a room a couple years ago, and he was like, I think David even was like, you need to call Michelle. And we were like, okay. And so Sean calls, and we went to visit, and he was like, can you make 500 people appear in 3 days? And she was like, yes, I think I can. And by golly, she did. And so it is my great pleasure to introduce to you the Superintendent of West Virginia Schools, Michelle Blatt. Michelle, share with us if you don't. Yes. I love to call her Superintendent Blatt. It makes me so happy. And so tell us, if you don't mind, a little bit about how the West Virginia Department of Education has been involved in this work and why we think it's so important, all of us, you included, think it's so important to see our communities and schools represented in all 55 counties.
Thank you, Margaret Ann, and good afternoon to everybody. We're glad to be here with you today and are honored to continue to support Sean and David Ball in their adventure to meet the needs of our students. There's so many things that we know that our students go through. Margaret Ann shared some of the statistics, but you know, there's a quote that I have on my wall, and it says, every student, every child is one caring adult away from being a success story. And I know that those of you in this room have made that success story for your students. The Communities in Schools initiative that the First Lady started and the governor and legislature have been so awesome to support since 2018 has made such a huge impact in our schools. And I know we have a lot of principals in this room. I recognize a lot of faces. And I know when we think about our students and our schools, if we just had somebody there to take care of those basic needs, somebody there to provide those resources to our students so that our teachers could teach. There was an assistant superintendent in Wyoming several years ago, and she started crying at one of our meetings. And she said, I just want to say, in 35 years, this is what education needed, is a site coordinator in each school. And so that's why the First Lady has been so passionate about making sure that we get this program in 55 counties. She knows that all of our students need those additional supports and that our principals and teachers and counselors need those supports as well to make sure that the students are being taken care of. So what does the donation kind of do for our schools? Lots of state and federal funds do flow in and out of our schools. But with those, there's a lot of restrictions, a lot of red tape, a lot of purchase orders. It's a process to spend any of the money that comes to us from the state and federal level. So when Sean and David give these checks to each of our schools, this is money that then they can go buy that pair of shoes, those clothes, those things that are needed that very day. And we had a site coordinator with us yesterday from Huntington High School, and I'll kind of close with his statement. He said, they say money can't buy happiness, but it can buy a bed, it can buy a pair of shoes without holes, it can put a coat on a child that's cold. And so those are the things that we're focused on, meeting those basic needs, and are so grateful for David and Sean supporting our schools in this manner.
Thank you, ma'am. And so somebody asked me yesterday, like, why communities in schools? And I can tell you that Sean and David and the Ball family have looked at other opportunities to help and support work. But when you start to hear the data, and Michelle's going to share some of that, Superintendent Blatt's going to share some of that in a minute, but when you start to hear the outcomes of what the site coordinators are doing with our students, it's clear to see why their work has kind of been directed into the communities and schools areas. And now you're going to get to hear, not that they aren't fabulous, but now you get to hear like the meat. And so we have 3 communities and school site supervisors with us, and we have 3 students. And I'm going to start by just giving you the mission of communities and schools, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that. So the mission is simple. It's to surround students with a community of support, empowering them to stay in school and achieve in life. And I think that's what we hope for everybody. And I know that our first site coordinator, Dr. Long, Dr. Yvonne Lee Long, is from Capitol High School. Dr. Long, thank you for being with us today, first of all. We're so happy to have you here. And so if we extract from that mission statement the part about surrounding students with a community of support, if you don't mind, tell us about your role in the schools as a site coordinator.
All right, thank you. And thanks to the Ball family for all the support that you give. I want to thank these other gentlemen, the presidents. Thank you guys for all the hard work that you do. And having a community of support in the role that I play, first let me just tell you, I'm very boots on ground. I've been a social worker. I come through the CPS system. I was a forensic investigator. I've been back in the school systems. I teach policy at West Virginia State University, thank you, and everything. But I come from a background that I want to give back. There was a social worker I said that saved a wretch like me. And if I would have had the type of support that the CIS program gives, I probably would have been able to achieve things much sooner in life and everything. And so the role that we play with the support that you give and everything is to help these children. As you guys know, the West Virginia was #1 in the opioid epidemic. So we have a lot of children right now that the tables have been turned. And even with the grit and the resilience that all you guys went through and everything, we have children that are suffering out there. We have children that want it but can't get it. Want it but don't understand how to divert and mitigate a system that is so troubling to them. They're sleeping in homes that are smoke-filled, like you said, the holes in their shoes and things like that. Well, just with us being able to intervene. You know, right now we're only 9 weeks into school and we have kids with bed full of bed bugs, and they can't sleep at night because they're being bitten all night. We got kids with no utilities on right now. So this is the type of money that was going to support them. And these students are A and B students, but not having no utility can make or break them. They can drop out of school and have to support their families right now. So this is what the money is. And so I say with the community of support, thank you and thank you again. Thank you guys for having this program. Thank the First Lady for even seeing that it's needed here, that it's really needed here. I'm from the West Coast. I'm from Los Angeles, where this began and everything. I came here to West Virginia, and I love West Virginia. I don't even know why people leave West Virginia. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm glad you guys are making it attainable. I've achieved everything I have achieved. You know, you call me a doctor here, but never before I came to West Virginia I ever thought I would be a doctor. And there's somebody that in West Virginia that believed in me, that saved a wretch like me. And now what I say, I'm 6 degrees hotter, right? So I'm going to give back to all the students that I can. And my favorite motto is, I save one, I'm serving a purpose. But more than that, I'm doing my job. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm saving these children of West Virginia, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop, and I want to thank you guys all. So having a community of support and supporting these children is showing that we're going to get one more student across that line when they think that the impossible is not obtainable. So that's what this program does for us. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Long. Our next site coordinator is also from Capitol High School, and Donetta Courts. Tell us, your version, I know you guys all work with different students, and so you see different things clearly. So if you don't care to share with us how this initiative makes a difference for you and the students that you work directly with.
I want to say thank you, and again, thank you to the Ball family and everybody here. For me, I come from a town here in West Virginia. I'm from Moran, West Virginia, and something growing up that everybody always done, the community poured into you. I mean, there's so many things that have happened that Moran have done, that opportunities that students and kids would never have, but the parents, the community wrapped around and did that. So that taught me, as growing up, that I want to do that too. That's my job, as employment, that's all I want to do. I want to just give back. And that's my gift that I feel that God gave me. So being up here, I think that just being able to help the students be able to attain things, whether it's mental health, food, anything they need, because there's a need. There's a lot of kids on survival mode. The ones that they like making the bad grades and stuff like that, they need someone to just support them, to be there for them, to listen. So just being there, being able to provide the services and help students out, to let them know that they're not only just have their family, but they have a community, they have the school that's here to support them, and that they can survive and they can do well and they can achieve their goals in life. So that's.
You like what you do, don't you?
I love it. I do. I really do. I used to work
That's
at
the
Job Corps
takeaway.
also, so being at Job Corps and doing this, and like I said, I really have dedicated my career to really just helping young adults to develop and achieve their goals. So
Thank you. Thank you for your service. We
thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Superintendent Blatt, do you mind to share your, oh, she's going to do it. Never mind. Thank you. So our next site coordinator is Kelly Rake, and Kelly came from Ripley, and Kelly received this donation last year, and she, well, I said, I heard through the rumor mill, she was a rock star. So we're going to ask Kelly to share with you all, and I know Sean is eager to hear how, and David, how you used your donation last year.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to start out by thanking you again for this money. It's truly a blessing. It makes such a huge difference in so many students' lives. I mean, I wish you could see it firsthand. You know, they're so excited when you're able to provide that item that they need. Some of the items I've provided have been just simple things sometimes, just like a ticket to the school dance, you know, and they can't afford that ticket to the dance. It might seem like a small amount to some, but to them it's a really big deal. So I've been able to purchase those, you know, last minute, like same day. We don't have to go through all the red tape, you know, it's just go get it. And that's been amazing. They're so excited to be able to go and just partake in the same things that all their friends do. A lot of other things too, like covering financial obligations so they can receive their diploma on graduation night. And again, just, you know, to do it that day and take care of it for them. I've purchased items like shoes for students, again, for graduation. Maybe they don't have dress shoes. You know, they didn't have any dress shoes. So was able to purchase those same day. And other items like clothing, lots of clothing, leggings, so many backpacks. We have a lot of need for backpacks for our students. So I've purchased quite a few of those. And just other like hygiene products and things like that. But it just really enables us to enhance their high school experience. You know, they're able to partake in the things that their friends can partake in as well. And it's just amazing to see their face light up, you know, when they receive these items. And it's a very rewarding job, and I enjoy it very much.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. So just before we get to hear from our students, I do want you to have a chance to hear the part of the mission that talks about empowering them to stay in school. And Superintendent Blatt, I know you have some pretty amazing statistics and data to support that piece.
Yes, we are in 53 counties and 260 schools this year. And the attendance, behavior, the academics, the different areas that we work with, even though we are new to CIS because it's been around for 40 years, we've been able to outperform the counties and the states in other areas that have had it for years. And so we have 99% stayed in school, 89% graduated or received their GED, 94% were promoted, 82% improved academics, 68% improved attendance, and 76% improved behavior. So that's the impact that we're making across the state in West Virginia.
That's awesome. It works. That's what we know. It works. And so the last part of that mission speaks to allowing the students to achieve in life. And who better to hear from than the students who are achieving in life? And so we're going to start with Jeremiah. So I don't know where the mic is. There you go. So Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah is at Capitol High School. And Jeremiah, we've just asked you to, if you don't mind, tell us what it means to you to achieve in life.
Okay. To achieve in life to me means to either go to graduate school and get my bachelor's degree in business administration, and then later then soon go to an internship and then get a nice paying job or a nice little career with business admin, get a nice paying career in a house. I'm so sorry.
You're
It's a
good.
perfect answer.
You're perfect.
Oh,
That's
so
exactly
that was
right.
it. I'm so sorry.
It's awesome.
That's how we all want to achieve in life. I'll just share with you a little funny story about our young man yesterday, and his last name was Ford. And when he walked in, he goes, "But I want to work for Toyota." And I'm like, "Okay." And he goes, "But I drive a Chevy." And I'm like, "It's okay. We're gonna get us through that." So you're perfect. You're absolutely perfect. And our second student from Capitol is Alexis Williams, right? Did I get that right? And tell us what it means to you to achieve in life.
What it means to me to achieve in life, which I actually want to go to Marshall to study law, and this has been like it's been like a big matter of state to me because my grandma she actually went to law school and got her law degree and achieved her goals. So I would rather prefer of achieving my goals to support me and my family to make my grandma happy because I would know she'll want that. And yeah, that's just what I feel like I want to. I just feel that's where I need to achieve my goals in my life.
Thank you, thank you,
Awesome.
thank you. And I guarantee your grandmother's proud of you. We all are proud of you. And I bet President Smith can help you with that law degree. Last but not least, before we get ready to wrap things up, is my friend Mac Fields, and Mac is at Ripley High School. And Mac, we've just asked you to share if she works with site coordinator Kelly. And I have asked all of the site coordinators because all of the students give me their first names. And I'm like, "Are you allowed to call them by their first names?" And everybody said yes. And so they call you Kelly, and we're going to hear from Mac about how the coordination and working with Kelly has helped you and been a part of your high school life.
Hi. I just want to say, first of all, how incredible I think that the Communities in Schools program is. From a student's point of view, I see how hard the educators and the people who work with the students work, and it really makes a difference in our lives. It can take just one person to change how we feel about school and our careers in general. Before I met Kelly my freshman year, the spring of my freshman year, and my freshman and sophomore year were not good years for me. But Kelly has made me realize how proud of myself I can be. And it's just a very life-changing experience. And I just want to thank all of the educators, and I want to thank the site coordinators for what you guys do, because I know how much you guys care about your students, and I know the work you put in. And I want to thank the Ball family and the Communities in Schools. And I just feel like I know some students, the students you work with, some students are like, "Oh, I don't need this," or "I don't need that." They don't want to accept the help, but they are grateful. I know they are, because I know people like that. Every single student you guys work with is extremely grateful for what you guys do, especially me. Kelly has helped me a lot through my school career, and I am now an A and B student, and I have plans to go into welding after school, and I just am very, very thankful for everything you guys do.
Thank you. I'll just ask, is there anything else the three of you would like to share about your experience with Communities in Schools? If there's anything else, this is your time. That a boy.
Working with Ms. Donnell, of course, has been a real pleasure with me because I've gotten in trouble in my sophomore and freshman year, and I really didn't think I was going to be able to go to college. So it wasn't a part of my decisions after school. I was just going to go straight into the workforce, gather up a couple of checks or something. But now that I have somebody who can actually believe in me and give me, I want to say, hope in life, I guess, I have a strong sense of determination for myself to open doors and windows for all the kids I'm around, all the friends I'm around, everybody I'm going to try and, I guess, motivate to also go to college, go to school, and get a career in something that'll benefit them. So that's all I wanted to say. That Mr. Donetta Christian and Community and Schools is very great and a good community in my opinion.
Thank you, Jeremiah. You good? All of you inspire us. And so thank you so much. Sean, if you want to come up, I think that concludes our panel. I'll just say again, while he makes his way, thank you for putting up with me and allowing me to be a very small but welcome part of this. Look, I made a bit better today and made you some notes. Can you see it?
I don't want notes.
You don't need that.
Oh, yeah, I wish I did do notes because I forgot to say a few things. We didn't put envelopes with your checks, so you already know how much you got. You got $1,500 a piece. That's going across the board. I think you only got $1,000 last year, so that was a little bit of a jump. And just to break down the numbers, what was it, 148 schools or 248 schools? 248 schools all got $1,500 just to make it easy for us. Then we did $50,000 for Marshall. Part of that will go to scholarships. So we're going to be doing a scholarship for all the surrounding schools. We were going to do them today. I wanted to award a scholarship today, but we couldn't because of the time of the year. So Michelle and her team are going to put out an application in the spring. The schools already have the money, so they're good to go. And we did $50,000 for Marshall and $50,000 for WVU Tech. So we'll probably send out information about that in the upcoming months. Okay. And we have a large obligation, in my opinion, for what we do. And I think the panelists we had today were phenomenal, and we don't really know how to do things sometimes, and this is years and years of just trying to figure it out. We want every dollar we give to be able to go back to the schools. The accounting systems that are in place are very important. I'm not going to lecture you too much, but the more you can do the accounting side of it to give back to the Board of Education, they share that with me every month. And I can tell you, almost a year of those coming in every month to me. Melody sends them to myself and Margaret Ann. That's part of the reason we went ahead and did more money. So the ones that didn't report at all almost cost ourselves money. So I'm begging you, please let us know. That's what motivates me. That's what makes me feel the need to give more money at these giveaways, just to make sure that we're covering everybody. Because the ones that did report were amazing, I thought. And we're trying to make it more convenient for you and send reminders, and I think doing a few other things. So, anything else? I'm giving $10,000 to Margaret Ann too, which reminds me I better go ahead and give it to her because I'm getting ready to take off to Beckley as soon as this goes. So, the United, all three United Ways, River Cities, Southern and Central, all got $10,000 because they do so much for me. They do a lot to all year round. It doesn't matter what it is. If we need help with something, that's my go-to because I don't want to put a foundation together and then have to hire people to do all of that. They do everything we need, and they put a great event on, and they do a lot of events through the years that are fundraisers. And honestly, people have their views of the United Way, then they express them to me because I'm pretty vocal about my support of them. And the one that I see is not the one that I hear about. I served on the board of the board for the United Way in Beckley for several years, and I saw all the numbers. I knew where all the money went. And do they have to pay staff? Yeah, of course. No one works for free. But they do a lot of good work. It's amazing to me sometimes to see what they do. And I'm a big supporter. I've been a supporter of WVU Tech for about 9 years now. I think we supported them the year before they actually came to Beckley. They have been great for our community, and it's really important to me to see them succeed. But one of the things I love about Tech is their graduation rate for engineering students, their job placement. Just a very tight-knit community. It's a wonderful school. I'm on the board of governors for Marshall, so I'm kind of pulled in between in a lot of different areas, and Brad is a great example of that because he's like, Sean, I give money to both schools too, all the schools, and so I root for everybody in West Virginia, and that's just Brad. He's a very positive person, and I just sometimes feel a little guilty, but I do. I root for both these schools, and I want both of them to be successful, and Marshall for All, to me, is one of the greatest programs I've ever heard. So just real quick, I want to take a show of hands. Can everybody that's heard of Marshall for All raise your hands, please? It's very eye-opening. I did this yesterday, and it was probably about the same percentage. So we've got to do a better job of getting that word out. It's something that we want you guys to do. I know I sound like a CIS and Marshall for All plug person right now or spokesperson, but honestly, they're important to me. I think I see the results of both, and so and of tech also. So I would I'll make sure everybody got their checks.
There was a few. Sorry.
That's
I
okay.
just want to make sure. You did give them to me, right? Yeah, in the folder.
What?
In the folder.
Anybody didn't get a check? Let's ask that.
Oh, that's a better question.
Who are you with?
Okay.
Anybody?
How about Midland Trail
Who are
Elementary?
you with? Uh-huh. Man?
How about Nitro Elementary? Come. Andrew Jackson Middle, Elkview Middle, Herbert Hoover High School, Logan Middle, Mann High School. Here she comes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. That was way better than last year on the short list.